I think I'm in love with you, Cole whispered, his voice breaking in the darkness of the barn. The words hung between us like smoke, and I couldn't breathe. My back was pressed against the rough wooden wall, his hand still resting on my shoulder from when he'd steadied me moments before. The lantern light flickered across his face, catching the desperation in his eyes, and I realized everything I'd been running from for the past 6 months had finally caught up to me. I'd noticed Cole Brennan the day he arrived at Clearwater Ranch, though I'd never admit that to anyone. He rolled up in a dusty pickup truck with nothing but a duffel bag and a guitar case, looking like trouble wrapped in denim and leather. I was mucking out stalls when Mr. Harrison brought him around for introductions, and when Cole's eyes met mine, something shifted in my chest that I immediately tried to ignore. Here's Jamie, Mr. Harrison had said, clapping me on the shoulder. Best stable hand we've got. Been with us 3 years now. Jamie, this is Cole. He'll be helping with the cattle drives and breaking the new horses. Cole extended his hand, and when I took it, his grip was firm and warm. Good to meet you, Jamie, he said, his voice carrying a southern drawl that made my name sound different somehow. His smile was easy, confident, and it made me look away first. The first few weeks, we existed in separate orbits. Cole worked mostly with the livestock and the more experienced ranch hands, while I kept to the stables and the quieter work I preferred. I liked the solitude of brushing down the horses, the meditative rhythm of cleaning tack, the peaceful early mornings when it was just me and the animals. But Cole had a way of showing up where I was. Not in an obvious way. He just happened to be walking past when I was leading a horse to pasture, or he'd volunteer to help carry feed bags when I was He'd make small talk, ask questions about the horses, tell jokes that made me bite back smiles I didn't want to give. You always this quiet? He asked one afternoon, leaning against the stable door while I organized the medicine cabinet. I talk when I have something to say, I replied, not looking at him. Fair enough. He was silent for a moment, and I thought he'd leave. Instead, he added, I like that about you. Most people talk just to hear themselves. I didn't know what to do with that, so I said nothing. But after he left, I found myself thinking about his words, turning them over in my mind like smooth stones. The thing about ranch work is that it forces proximity. You can't avoid someone when you're both working dawn to dusk in the same 100 acres. And Cole seemed determined to bridge whatever distance I tried to maintain. He started bringing 2 coffees when he came to the stables in the morning, one for him, one for me. He never made a big deal of it, just set the extra cup on the fence post and said, figured you could use it. I wanted to refuse, to tell him I didn't need his charity, but the coffee was always exactly how I liked it, and the mornings were cold. How do you know how I take my coffee? I asked one morning, finally giving in to curiosity. Cole grinned, that easy smile that made something warm unfold in my chest. I pay attention. It was such a simple thing, but it rattled me. No one paid attention to me. I'd spent years perfecting the art of being invisible, of not drawing notice. And here was Cole Brennan, watching me closely enough to memorize how I took my coffee. We fell into a routine. Morning coffee, scattered conversations throughout the day, and sometimes in the evenings, Cole would bring his guitar to the barn while I finished up. He'd sit on a hay bale and play soft melancholy tunes that filled the space between us with something I couldn't name. You ever gonna tell me why you're so determined to keep everyone at arm's length? He asked one night, fingers still moving over the guitar strings. I paused in my work, my hands stilling on the bridle I was cleaning. I'm not keeping anyone at arm's length, Jamie. The way he said my name made me look up. His expression was gentle but knowing. You barely talk to anyone. You eat lunch alone. You volunteer for the jobs that keep you away from the group. I'm not judging, I'm just curious. Maybe I like being alone, I said, defensive. Maybe, Cole agreed. Or maybe you're scared of something. The words hit too close, and I turned away. You don't know me. I'm trying to, he said quietly. If you'd let me. I didn't respond. And after a while, he went back to playing. But his words stayed with me, echoing in the quiet of my trailer that night. The truth was, I was scared. Scared of being seen. Scared of wanting things I'd been taught were wrong. Scared of the way my heart sped up every time Cole smiled at me. Things shifted the night of the ranch barbecue. It was a monthly traditional, the hands gathering for food and drinks, a rare moment of community in the hard work of ranch life. I usually made an appearance and left early, but Cole caught me before I could slip away. Stay, he said, his hand gentle on my arm. Just for a while. Keep me company. And because I was weak, because his touch made my skin feel electric, I stayed. We sat by the fire, and Cole told stories that made the other hands laugh. He had that gift of ability to draw people in, make them feel seen and heard. I watched him in the firelight, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the animated gestures of his hands, and I felt something dangerous bloom in my chest. You're staring, Cole said softly, when the others had wandered off for more beer. I startled, heat flooding my face. Sorry, I don't be sorry. His voice was low, intimate in the darkness. I like when you look at me. Means I get to look back. My breath caught. The space between us suddenly felt charged, heavy with something unspoken. Cole's eyes searched mine, and I saw questions there, possibilities that terrified me. I should go, I said, standing abruptly. Jamie, but I was already walking away, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. Behind me, I heard Cole sigh, but he didn't follow. I was grateful and devastated in equal measure. After that night, things became complicated. Cole didn't stop seeking me out, but there was a new awareness between us, a tension that made every interaction feel weighted. I caught him watching me sometimes, his expression thoughtful, almost sad, and I couldn't stop noticing things about him, the way he'd bite his lip when he was thinking, how his hands moved when he worked, the sound of his laugh carrying across the ranch. I was falling, and I didn't know how to stop it. You avoiding me? Cole asked one morning, cornering me in the tack room. No, I lied. Jamie. He stepped closer, and I pressed back against the wall, not because I was afraid, because I didn't trust myself not to lean into him. What are we doing here? I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. His voice was gentle but firm. I feel it too. This thing between us. And I know you're scared, but there's nothing between us. I cut him off, hating the way my voice shook. You're imagining things. Something flickered in Cole's eyes, hurt, maybe anger. He stepped back, and the loss of his proximity felt like cold water. Right? My mistake. He left, and I slumped against the wall, my hands shaking. I was protecting us both, I told myself. This thing, whatever it was, could only end badly. Better to kill it now before it grew into something that could destroy us. But over the following weeks, the distance I'd created felt like a wound. Cole stopped bringing me coffee. He was polite when we crossed paths, but the warmth was gone, replaced by careful professionalism. The other hands noticed, made jokes about us having a lover's quarrel, which made everything worse. I threw myself into work, taking extra shifts, volunteering for every difficult task, anything to avoid the hollow feeling in my chest. The way I kept looking for Cole without meaning to, it was Mr. Harrison who finally intervened. Jamie, you're working yourself to death, he said one evening, finding me in the barn long after everyone else had gone. What's going on? Nothing, just staying busy. This about Cole. When I didn't answer, he sighed. Listen, I don't know what happened between you two, and I'm not asking. But whatever it is, working yourself into the ground isn't going to fix it. There's nothing to fix, I insisted. Mr. Harrison gave me a long look, the kind that said he saw right through me. That boy's been moping around here like a kicked dog for 3 weeks, and you look like you haven't slept in just as long. So either you two had a fight about something stupid, or, he paused, choosing his words carefully, or you're running from something that matters. My throat tightened. It's complicated. Life's complicated, he said simply, but regret's worse. Trust me on that. He left me with those words, and I sat in the dark barn, surrounded by the soft sounds of horses settling for the night, and let myself admit the truth. I was in love with Cole Brennan, and I was terrified. The storm came 3 days later, one of those sudden spring tempests that turn the world sideways. I was securing the horses, making sure everyone was safely in their stalls, when I realized Dusty, one of the newer mares, was missing from the south pasture. I grabbed my jacket and went out into the rain, cursing under my breath. The wind was fierce, the rain coming down so hard I could barely see. I found Dusty spooked and tangled in a section of down fence, thrashing dangerously. Easy girl, I called, approaching slowly. Easy now. It took time to calm her enough to get close, and by the time I'd freed her leg from the wire, I was soaked through and shivering. I was leading her back to the barn when a figure appeared through the rain. Cole, what are you doing out here?
He shouted over the wind. Lost horse, I called back. I've got her. He took Dusty's other side, helping me guide her through the storm. We didn't speak beyond necessary commands, working together with the practiced ease we'd built over months. But having him there, solid and steady beside me, made something in my chest ease even as my heart raced. We got Dusty into her stall, and I started drying her off while Cole fetched the first aid kit for the cuts on her leg. We worked in silence, the storm raging outside, our wet clothes dripping puddles onto the barn floor. You shouldn't have gone out alone, Cole said finally, his voice tight. That was dangerous. I've handled worse, I replied, not looking at him. That's not the point. He grabbed my arm, making me face him. You could have been hurt. Why do you care? The words came out sharper than I intended, laced with weeks of pain and frustration. Cole stared at me, water dripping from his hair, his eyes intense in the dim barn light. Why do I care? Are you seriously asking me that? We're co-workers, Cole. That's all we are. Bullshit. The word was quiet but fierce. We both know that's not true. My heart was pounding. It has to be true. It's safer if it's true. Safer for who? He stepped closer, and I couldn't back away this time, caught between him and the stall door. Jamie, I have tried to respect your boundaries. I've tried to give you space. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel this, and I don't think you can either, Cole. No, let me say this. His voice cracked slightly. I know you're scared. Hell, I'm scared too. But walking away from something real because it's scary, that's not protection. Jamie, that's just another kind of pain. The truth of his words hit me like a physical blow. All these weeks I'd thought I was being smart, being careful, but all I'd done was hurt both of us. I don't know how to do this, I whispered. Cole's expression softened. Do what? This feel this way. What? I couldn't finish, the words catching in my throat. Want me? He finished gently. When I nodded, barely able to meet his eyes, he cupped my face with one hand, his thumb brushing my cheek. Jamie, you don't have to know how. We can figure it out together. What if someone finds out? What if we're happy? He interrupted. What if this is exactly what we're both supposed to find? I looked up at him, this beautiful, impossible man who had somehow seen past every wall I'd built. I'm terrified, I admitted. Me too, Cole said, smiling slightly. But I'm more terrified of losing you because I was too afraid to try. The barn was quiet except for the storm outside and the soft sounds of the horses. Cole was so close I could feel his warmth through our wet clothes, could count the drops of rain on his eyelashes. I think I'm in love with you, he whispered. And the confession felt like a key turning in a lock I'd kept closed for years. I've been falling for months now, and I'm done pretending I'm not. So if you feel even a fraction of what I do, please, let me in. My hands came up to grip his jacket, and I was shaking from cold or emotion or fear. I wasn't sure. I'm scared of wanting this. I know. He leaned his forehead against mine. But I'm right here, and I'm not going anywhere. Cole, I breathed. And then I was closing the distance between us, pressing my lips to his in a kiss that felt like coming home and jumping off a cliff all at once. He made a soft sound of surprise and relief, his arms coming around me, pulling me close. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, like we were both afraid of breaking something precious. But then Cole's hand threaded through my hair, and I parted my lips against his, and the kiss deepened into something that made my knees weak. When we finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Cole's eyes were bright and his smile was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Been wanting to do that for 6 months, he admitted, his voice rough. Yet, I managed, still trying to remember how to breathe yet. He kissed me again, softer this time. Worth the wait. We stood there in the barn, holding each other while the storm raged outside, and I felt something inside me settle. The fear was still there. I knew it wouldn't disappear overnight, but it was quieter now, overshadowed by something stronger. Hope, maybe, or trust, or just the simple, profound relief of finally letting someone see me completely. What do we do now? I asked eventually. Cole pulled back enough to look at me, his hand still gentle on my face. We take it one day at a time. We figure out what this is together. We don't have to tell anyone anything until you're ready. This is ours. We get to decide how it goes. You'd do that. Keep this private, just for me. Jamie. His voice was soft but certain. I'd do anything for you. I thought you knew that by now. The words made my throat tight. I'd spent so long convinced I didn't deserve this kind of devotion, this kind of care. I don't know what I did to deserve you. You exist, Cole said simply. That's enough. We stayed in the barn until the storm passed, talking in low voices, stealing kisses, learning the shape of this new thing between us. Cole told me about growing up in Texas, about coming out to his family at 20 and the complicated years that followed. I told him about my own journey, the fear and shame I'd carried, the walls I'd built to keep myself safe. I see you, Cole said when I finished, his hand warm in mine. All of you. And you're not something that needs hiding, Jamie. You're someone worth celebrating. I'd never felt so thoroughly seen in my entire life. The next weeks were a revelation. Outwardly, nothing changed. We still worked the ranch, still maintained professional distance during the day. But in the stolen moments, morning coffee in the barn before anyone else arrived, late nights when the work was done, quiet rides to check the far fences, we built something beautiful. Cole taught me that vulnerability could be a strength, not a weakness. He was patient with my fears, gentle with my hesitations, and celebrated every small step I took toward openness. We had our first real date in town, 40 miles away where no one knew us, and I learned what it felt like to hold someone's hand in public, to smile at someone across a restaurant table without having to hide what they meant to me. You're happy, Mr. Harrison observed one morning. Catching me smiling at nothing while I worked, I felt heat rise in my cheeks. Is that a problem? Not at all. He gave me a knowing look. About time, actually. You and Cole both seem lighter these days. Good for you, son. The casual acceptance made my throat tight. You knew. Jamie, I've been running this ranch for 30 years. Not much gets past me. He clapped me on the shoulder. For what it's worth, you two are good together, and anyone who has a problem with it can take it up with me. I hadn't expected that. Acceptance without judgment, support without conditions. It made me realize that maybe, just maybe, I'd been carrying fear that didn't need to be as heavy as I'd made it. Cole and I talked about the future in careful, hopeful terms. We made plans tentative at first, then bolder. Maybe we'd get our own place eventually, a small ranch we could run together. Maybe we'd travel, see the country, find adventures beyond these familiar acres. The specifics didn't matter as much as the simple, profound fact that we were making plans together at all. I never thought I'd have this, I admitted one night, lying beside him in the barn loft, watching stars through the open hatch. Someone who sees me and stays anyway. Cole turned his head to look at me, moonlight catching in his eyes. I'm not staying anyway, Jamie. I'm staying because of who you are, because of how you make me feel, because I love you. The words still made my heart race every time he said them. I love you too, I whispered back, still getting used to the shape of the confession, more than I knew I could love anyone. He kissed me then, slow and deep, and we held each other in the quiet darkness, two men who'd found something rare and worth protecting. It wasn't always easy. We had moments of doubt, times when the outside world felt too big and too judgmental. There were days when I wanted to retreat back behind my walls, when the vulnerability felt like too much. But Cole was always there, patient and steady, reminding me that love was worth the risk. We learned each other in all the ways that matter, the way Cole hummed when he was content, how I got quiet when I was processing something difficult, the way we could communicate with just a look after months of learning each other's patterns. We built something solid, something that felt like it could weather whatever storms came our way. 6 months after that night in the barn, Cole found me in the stables after dinner, his expression nervous and excited. I want to show you something. He led me to his truck, and we drove out to the far corner of the ranch where the land rolled into gentle hills dotted with oak trees. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. What are we doing out here? I asked as we parked. Cole turned to me, taking both my hands. Mr. Harrison is selling me this section 20 acres. Says he's getting too old to manage all this land anyway, and he wants to make sure it goes to someone who'll take care of it. My heart started pounding. Cole, I know we haven't talked about this specifically, he continued, his words coming faster now, and if it's too soon we can wait. But Jamie, I want to build something with you. A life, a home. I want mornings where we don't have to hide, and nights where we fall asleep together without having to say goodbye. I want it all, and I want it with you. I stared at him, this incredible man who'd changed my entire world. You're serious? Never been more serious about anything. He squeezed my hands. So what do you say? Want to build a ranch with me? The answer rose up from somewhere deep and certain. Yes. Cole's smile was brilliant, and he kissed me there in the golden light of sunset, on land that would become ours, in a moment that felt like the beginning of everything. We sat in the truck bed as darkness fell, making plans and dreaming out loud, and I felt something I'd never expected to feel, completely, perfectly at peace. The fear was still there, tucked away in some corner of my heart, but it was overshadowed by joy and hope and love so big it felt like it might lift me right off the ground. Thank you, I said softly. Cole looked at me, confused. For what? For being patient, for seeing me when I was trying so hard to be invisible, for not giving up. Jamie, his voice was tender. You never have to thank me for loving you. That's the easiest thing I've ever done. And there, under the vast Texas sky, on land that would become our home, I kissed him again and let myself believe in the future we were building together, one where we didn't have to hide, where love was celebrated, not feared, where two men could build a life as beautiful and enduring as the land beneath us. The quiet, stable hand had caught the cowboy's attention, and it had changed everything. We were both ready now for love, for life, for whatever came next, ready, and finally blessedly, together. The endure turned. Did this story touch your heart? Could you feel the tension, the fear, the beautiful moment when everything finally clicked into place? Please subscribe, like, and comment below. Tell me what you loved most about Jamie and Cole's journey. What moment made your heart race? When did you know they were meant to be together? And here's the real question. Should I tell you what happened next? What challenges did they face building their ranch together? How did the other ranch hands react when they finally went public? What happened when Cole's family came to visit? Drop a comment if you want part 2. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more stories like this. Until next time, remember, love is always worth the risk.